There are four types of slope or average rate of change we need to identify. These slopes could be positive, negative, zero, or undefined. Now, I like to remember that when we are thinking about these four different types of slope, and we're looking at our lines in order to decide which one of these four types of slope exist, we're always going to be reading from left to right, as if we're reading a book, as if we're reading this sentence where it says slopes may be positive, negative, zero, or undefined. Now, when you could look at this first picture, you could see that if we put skier Sam on the line, he's going to be skiing, if we look at this line from left to right, uphill. That means that this slope, which we're going to use M, is going to be positive. That's how we identify a positive slope, an uphill line from left to right. Now, after skiing, Sam gets to the top of the hill and he's going downhill as we look at it from left and right. We identify this slope, which we're still going to call our M, as being a negative slope. Uphill, positive slope, downhill, negative slope. Now, if skiing Sam gets to a part of the ski area where he's not going up or down, but he's still skiing horizontally, we call this slope equal to zero, right? It's not going up, it's not positive, and it's not going down, it's not negative. He could still ski by pushing off and go perfectly horizontal, and that is a zero slope. However, if skiing Sam gets to a cliff, a vertical line, a perfectly vertical line, and goes screaming straight down to the bottom of the mountain, we don't call that to have any slope at all. That is no slope, or what we often refer to as undefined. Please remember that there's a difference between a slope that's equal to zero, which exists. It's a number. It's not positive or negative. It's the number one less than one and one more than negative one. That this is slope, right? That has slope. It's equal to zero. However, the vertical line, the opposite, is no slope or undefined. All right, let's practice. So here, when we're understanding slope in its very basic form, and we look at these four basic green lines, we're going to determine whether they have a positive, negative, zero, or undefined slope. And as I said before, we're always going to imagine that we are reading from left to right when we're looking at the line, right? And I sometimes like to think of somebody who's always going to be walking from left to right across the screen. And you could see when my little walker here is walking from left to right and he gets to the line, he's going to be walking uphill. So this is how we identify a positive slope. It's as easy as that. Now, when he gets to number 2, he keeps on walking, and then he gets to the line, and now he's walking downhill, right? Sliding down the hill. That is how we identify a slope that is negative. All right, and then we get to our final 2 examples here. It's very simple. And he's still walking from left to right, and he jumps on the line. He's not going up, he's not going down, but he could still walk on that. It's a horizontal line, and that line has a slope that is not positive, it's not negative, it's equal to 0, right? Our only neutral number that's not positive or negative. And then finally, we get to this last line where he's walking along, and he falls right off the cliff, right? It's a perfect vertical line, And that line right there has no slope, or often referred to as an undefined slope. Finally, let's just be mindful that we will be studying lines that are called piecewise lines, right? It just means that it's a linear graph that is broken into pieces. Here is a piecewise linear graph that changes its behavior several times, right? So we could see that if we're just looking here at, say, the x-axis, our horizontal axis, we could see that the line acts a certain way between -6 and -4. That if we take our walker and we come here, we could see that between those two intervals, that one interval, we could see that he was going uphill. So this part of the line will have a positive slope. But then he gets to another part of the line, another piece of the line between -4 and -1, and he's not walking up and he's not walking down. Well, when that happens, we know that it's not positive, it's not negative, that the slope will be equal to 0. And then we get to yet another part of the line between -1 and +2, where he's going, right? He went all the way down the hill. So that part, or that piece of this graph, will have a negative slope. And then we could see, quite obviously, he's going to go back up between 2 and 3. And that part will be a positive slope. And then finally, he ends up going back downhill. And that last part will have a negative slope. So there you have it. So in review, we just need to be very, very mindful of when we look and observe at a line that we could very, very, very quickly identify its sign, right? Choosing between 4 types of slope: a positive slope, a line that goes up from left to right; a negative slope, a line that goes down from left to right; a zero slope, which is a perfectly horizontal line; and a line which is vertical, which has no slope or is called undefined.